Anyway, we're going to start with some horrific news out of Sacramento. Things must be getting better because they say so. I'm talking about the economy. I'm talking about their take of your tax money because they're just giving everybody raises. Last week they gave the state workers raises. Now this pay commission has given all the legislators raises.
Hey, attention morons who voted for Prop 30.
I can't believe how fast this all happened.
I know.
Because Prop 30 passed, right? And they looked at the budget and realized, wow, we're taking in more money than we thought. Well, yeah, you raised taxes and the income taxes were retroactive. Of course you're going to take in more money. It's like, well, what do we do with this? Let's give ourselves raises. Let's give all the state workers raises. Everybody gets more money. Hey!
Remember the money was supposed to go to the children? Well, it's not going to the children. All the legislators are getting 5% raises.
5% raises.
Do you get a 5% raise? The stupid assemblymen and women and the stupid state senators are getting 5% raises. What the heck? Oh, I'm glad we passed that tax so we could pay more money to those slobs and pigs up in Sacramento.
The Jerry Brown's getting more money, too, and so are all the statewide officials like the Attorney General, Lieutenant Governor is getting more money. Gavin Newsom gets a raise.
Jerry Brown lies to the public for months about the tax increase and then gets rewarded with a raise because they have extra money. What's wrong with people?
So they did cut their pay several times over the last few years due to the economy, but really due to the fact that that's what they should have done years ago.
Their pay is by far the highest in the nation. So whatever cuts they suffered, they still had the highest pay in the nation.
They're soon going to make $95,291 a year, and that's not a full-time job. Too bad they're not technically a part-time legislature where we could really reduce their pay down to almost nothing because they spend their off time in Sacramento whoring out, lobbying, going to golf outings, and rubbing elbows with lobbyists and taking trips around the world because they think they're doing the world's best business.
They're given $142 a day in expense money for every day they're in session. So it's not just the $95,000.
No, you're right.
Then they got the health benefits. Then they got the fat, ugly pensions. Then, they used to have a car program,
too. They used to get the car program.
I bet you that's coming back now, right? How long is it going to be before we read, look at that. Because of all the money from Prop 30, it looks like we could pay for their cars again.
Yeah, but they traded that out for a different system where they still get reimbursed for car use. And I read that may be costing us more than the old system. They shouldn't get any of that.
They shouldn't get cars.
Buy your own car, lease your own car, be responsible completely for your own transportation. But I have to visit my constituents. I have to drive around my vast district. Well, so do a lot of salespeople out there in the private world. They have to go where the clients are. They have to go where the sales are. They drive all over the place. And they have to spend money on it, too, even though they probably get to deduct their miles for tax purposes. But besides the fact, that's kind of how the real world works.
So Brown was making $165,000 a year, and he's getting a 5% raise. This is a guy who's happy to brag how he slept on a floor for most of his life. This is a guy who brags about getting the $39 Southwest special. And I said they get a pension. Actually, they don't. Legislators don't get a pension for the years they're in office. But they're all going to get pensions out of the state system because they've all worked as public servants.
Yeah, you know what? That came up
until the.
We were just talking to John Kupal, I think, last week from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. And remember, L.A. City Council members get pensions.
Yeah.
And Tony Villar is going to get a pension. But he said normally what states do with elected officials, you don't get a pension. So that's more for the civil servant worker, the cubicle people.
So Jerry Brown, the big bald liar, lied about Prop 30, and guess what happens now? And it's only June. The largest public employee union in the state is going to get a 4.5% salary increase, and now all the legislators are getting a 5% increase. So tell me again why you agreed to this tax idea. Oh, that's right. It was stealing a lot of money from the rich, right? That's a good idea. Steal money for the rich and give it to state legislators.
Well, we could also see this tip just the other way in less than a year because a lot of people last year made adjustments. Remember, California is highly dependent on wealthy people and the income taxes that they pay. and Prop 30 made sure we got more out of them. But number one, it was retroactive, so some people didn't know that and didn't make adjustments in 2012. And second of all, because of the fiscal cliff debate in Washington, some of the wealthy people took action to sell stuff and get capital gains last year because of the higher tax rates that were supposed to come and did come in 2013. All of these things I'm trying to say may not be repeated
They won't
in
be
2014.
repeated. It's impossible for those.
Yet they're acting already. I never saw it happen this fast. Like they have a new long-time revenue stream.
They
Unless
don't
so
care.
crazy.
If they're short of money, they'll start screaming for taxes.
There was an article over the weekend, I think in the Times, that the Republicans, and there's only 5 left in Sacramento, I think, right?
Well, one died yesterday. There's 4.
So there's 4.
There's 4 left. Oh, well,
they're actually counting on Jerry Brown to be the moderate and to act Republican in terms of the spending.
You know something?
And maybe that's true because compared to the rest of this crowd, like this gigantic John Perez and
the Republicans are a
all
bunch
the
of
rest, they're chomping to try to spend all the money they claim was cut the last 5 years.
Those Republicans are a bunch of feeble fools. Jerry Brown is a spending maniac. If they start saying, well, Jerry Brown's not so bad, that's what's wrong with the Republicans in the state. They should be saying Jerry Brown is really bad and the legislature is worse.
Well, they didn't say he's not so bad, but because they have a supermajority in Sacramento, they can't do anything.
Well,
so they're hoping Jerry Brown does something.
But if the Republicans,
they're powerless.
If the Republicans don't have a consistent philosophy of opposing this stuff and explaining why they oppose it, they will never get back in power. They should be explaining consistently why Prop 30 was an unnecessary tax. The sales tax was on everybody. That was unnecessary. They should be harping about these union raises. They should be harping about these legislative raises. This is what you do to lay the groundwork for a successful election cycle. You're in the news every day making a big ruckus about important things and explaining why. You don't just show up 2 months before Election Day and go, oh, by the way, we're for smaller government and lower taxes. Vote for me, Ed Snodgrass. No. You have to make a stink about it all year so it permeates to some extent people's minds. It's like, wow, things are really out of control. Every day I hear about the raises for the public employee unions, the raises for the legislators, the excess taxes, blah, blah, blah. They don't talk about it anymore. Oh, Jerry Brown's kind of a moderate compared. It's like you guys are losers. You Republican legislators are such stinking, embarrassing, pathetic losers.
The Sacramento Bee has a headline that the legislators will now make more money than 85% of all California workers. Do you know what the median pay for full-time California workers was in 2011? $47,000 a year.
$47,000.
We have a lot of poor people, as we've talked about. $47,000. But legislators will soon make $95,291, as we explained, as they get this $5,000 pay bump.
Yeah, you know what we found out last week the janitors make at the DWP? The janitors, $70,000. So the janitors at the DWP, $70,000. California workers on average, $47,000. Legislators, $95,000. Highest taxes in the nation by far, virtually every category. And people just sit there. You know what somebody was telling me yesterday? Somebody was telling me about like the tax increases. And everybody goes, well, it's just another % or 2. But it's another % or 2 of your after-tax income, right?
Right. It's magnified.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're giving away 50% of your income and then they raise it another 3 points, well, that's really raising it 6% because you only have half your income left. So it takes a big bite out of disposable income. The tax increases that people had to pay for the Social Security and Medicare increases this year, remember we heard it was $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000?
Yeah.
If you're making $50,000 and you've got only $35,000 left after taxes, that tax increase is 10% of your disposable income. They'll say, oh, it's just a couple of percentage points. No, out of your disposable income, what's left, it's 10%.
And by the way, we talked about this with Prop 30. If the top, I'm just using an example, if the top tax rate on income taxes was 10%, and they raise it up to 12 or 13%, percentage-wise, that's gigantic.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
That's a 30% increase.
Oh, it's only a 1% increase, but if his top rate was 10%, you're moving it up 1% to 11%, that's a 10% increase, exactly. Yeah. People just don't wrap their brains around that.
Because they don't know the difference between a percentage point and a percentage.
All right, when we come back, we may have dodged one little bullet out of Sacramento, which certainly would have meant higher taxes. We'll explain. All right, it's driving me crazy.